So, here we are again. In this episode, as I told you in the previous one, I wanted to show you the last units that I have been working on for my Fiefdoms army, which are the Prince Imrahil of Dol Amroth, some of his Swan Knights, and the Clansmen of Lamedon with, what's the name of their commander? Angbor, the Fearless, and the interest story that I have with those guys in there. So I'm going to start without further ado directly. I'm just going to show you, because I bought this box of Dol Amroth Knights. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that when I was collecting SBG armies when I was a kid, I always say a kid, I was a teenager, I was like 15 already, or, well, I started pretty early. I think I started when I was 12. But yeah, once I see it from the perspective of right now, probably I was a kid nevertheless. I bought this Dol Amroth Knights box, and if I'm not mistaken, at that time the Dol Amroth Knights were made of metal. At least the foot ones are made of metal, because I don't find them on plastic anywhere. I don't know if the Knights on these ones, the mounted ones, were on metal as well, but I don't know why my head tells me that they were. Still, even if they were not metal, they were impossible to find in Spain. And I always loved the look of them. I knew that they were not in the movies. I started reading the Lord of the Rings books when I was about 10 years old. And I remember watching the movies after and reading the Return of the King and see the mentions of the Prince Imrahil, and I always thought like, it would be so cool if they added Imrahil and his knights. But they didn't, of course. They didn't add the fact that Eomer marries Prince Imrahil's daughter and stuff like that. But I mean, I love the movies. I love the movies. They're my favorite movies ever. I think they're the best movies ever made, at least in that genre. But I don't know, I always thought it was cool to see how they were. And once Games Workshop came out and made these sculpts and everything, and I saw the color scheme and everything, I was so attracted by them. But I never had the chance to have them. So, thankfully for me, now I can say that I have my Knights of Dol Amroth. This one I have made with a banner. This guy that has no helmet is the one that has allowed me to make the captain on foot that I showed you in the previous video that I still have here. So I made these knights straight out of the box, nothing crazy. I just tried to play a little with the angles of the spears and stuff so they will look a bit more dynamic, like in charging positions and stuff. And I'm very happy with how they look. All of these guys I painted with Vallejo paints, and I love the color that they turn out. The color I used is this Mystic Blue Express line that they use, and it's amazing for this blue. I did like 2 or 3 coats of it, and you can see how immediately it picks up all the detail and all the shades by itself. You don't even need to wash it or anything. And it was great. I really love that potent blue to show up and stand up, and it actually is cohesive with the whole army, because if you look at my Blackroot Vale archers, they're exactly the same color. Same thing happens with the men at arms, same thing happens with the knights, so they look pretty similar. And to lead them, of course, we have the Prince Imrahil, the new box that comes in plastic. It was an experience to put together. It was the first Lord of the Rings miniature that I've ever put together that had so many pieces that were so little and you had to put together. I was used to before, for example, like these Rangers that I showed you before, like you will just take them out of the box and slide them into the base, and that's it. And this guy requires so much assembling, but I really love the sculpt. I really love the detail. I really love how similar and at the same time different it looks from the rest of the knights, so you can really tell that he's an important person. And I love it. I love this sculpt. And of course I have the foot version, which, to be honest, I liked a little bit the fact that the head of the mounted and foot version before was without a helmet and with the hair on the air, because then it will stand out a bit more. This one, if you use it as a Dol Amroth captain, nobody will even flinch. But I really love the sculpt. It's very high detailed. I'll show you in a shot now all together how these look. I'll show you how Imrahil looks with the foot knights in the previous video. And I'll show you how the mounted ones look all together. So I have a full unit of 7, with Imrahil being one of them, of course, that I can put together for any game. Of course, I think that I will never use the 7 of them in a game unless it's an extremely big battle. But even if I never use the 7 of them, I'm really happy that I have them for display purposes. They look great all together, and I have options. And of course, I have my favorites, but what can I do? Besides this, there's another thing I wanted to show. Is the Rangers of Dol Amroth. That doesn't exist. The Rangers of that I got from the box I showed you in one of the previous videos. What did I do with the other half? And I said, hey, I know it's not the original sculpts to play with that army, but I thought that I will use some to play them as Grey Company. So I painted them with grey cloaks. I gave them a different color scheme, so they look different enough. And I made a bunch of them more with spears, or I used a bunch more of them with spears. There's no conversions in these guys, actually. So they are straight out of the box. I just painted that differently because I was like, if I want to play a small amount of points game and I can put together the easiest and fastest army to put together with what I have, it will be a Grey Company army, which I can just add an Aragorn eventually. And I have them there. I know it's not the most powerful army, but I wanted to have them. And for a Pelennor Fields theme battle that you have the Grey Company plus the Army of the Dead that I want to get eventually, plus Dol Amroth, plus Gondor, plus Rohan, it will be nice to have some more fodder of Grey Company. So I'll show you a shot of how they look all together. I'm very happy with the color scheme. I think they look very good all together. And yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with how they look. But this leads me to the final part of the Fiefdoms army that I've made so far. I have tried to find the pieces or boxes to kitbash to make the Clansmen of Lamedon, because he has the same problem as the Axemen, he has the same problem as the Men-at-Arms. They come in blisters of 3, if I'm not mistaken. Then they are going to repeat all over. They're metal. They're impossible to find nowadays. And if you find them, they're very expensive. I still wanted to keep that Scottish look because I thought it was super cool to have a unit that looks so different, but at the same time tie them up with the rest of the army. So what I did with this is my first experience in proxied miniatures. And I actually didn't use a proxied Middle-earth survival game unit. I used a proxied Scottish Clansmen unit that I found in Historicals in Etsy. I found it from, I don't remember the name of the store. I'll say it in one of the next videos because you know the only thing I got. I know they come from Portugal, and I'm extremely happy about how they come because it's my first experience with 3D printed miniatures. It's my first experience with proxies, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. I'm going to show you now. There's 6 of them that I have finished, and there's 6 of them that I haven't because I have to base them. Probably the shots that I will show you of them all together will be when they are finished because, yeah, I bought 12 of them, one of them being the proxy for the captain to be Angvor. And since they're Scottish, I thought it was fun. Maybe I'm stupid, but I thought it was fun that I will make half of them be Mackenzies, or in a color scheme similar to the Mackenzies in Outlander, and the other half like the Frasers, and make the captain actually Jamie Fraser, which, if you have seen Outlander, you know what I'm talking about. If you do not know, you're just gonna see some very Scottish looking dude, which works nevertheless. So to make the captain, I have used this sculpt here that is absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. I love the sword, I love the pose, I love the chainmail. It picks up so much detail once you shade it and paint it all together. Sorry, I was not showing it to you there. There you can see it better. As you can see, I used the same blue in this tissue, so it ties up with the rest of the army, but then the kilt is painted in the colors of the Fraser family. I know that the pattern is not exactly accurate, but I wanted it to look similar, but not exactly the same because it was impossible. I don't paint that well. So that is how the Frasers look. I made another Fraser that is important to know. That is Mortag Fiefdoms. I wanted to give some of them character and that they stand out a little, at least for me, because I think that it's important that you find them special. And I really love the poses. And then I made the other half as if they were Mackenzies. And what better way to start a Mackenzies than with Dougal Mackenzie, which as soon as I saw this sculpt, I was like, yeah, that's a straight out Dougal. As you can see there, he has a different pattern in the kilt, different colors, but I am very happy with how they turned out. And in the Mackenzies, of course, I had to add Roger Mackenzie with a very aggressive pose, I must say. But I love the kilt, I love the pose, I love how dynamic they look, the attention to detail. I'm extremely happy about these proxies. I will be showing you now probably a comparison side by side of the Mackenzies and the Frasers of my 12 Clansmen of Lamedon. So you can really see that they still look cohesive even though they're different. Kind of like an army in that time will look like, because they were not professional armies. And I'm not talking about Middle Earth, I'm talking about Middle Age. And armies, even though they looked similar and they wore colors that were similar or they had banners and stuff, they didn't look professional until centuries after. So I wanted to give this look of that they are from different clans, that they get together for war. They have something that they are distinguished for. In this case, in this Fiefdoms army, is that blue color from Dol Amroth. But all of them are different. All of them have different armors, they have different shields, they have different weapons. And I wanted it to look like that. So it really looks like a bunch of people that gets together to fight a war that they're forced into, rather than a professional army. Like, for example, the Gondor army looks like, more or less, because the Minas Tirith warriors, they all have the same equipment. So I think I achieved that with this. And I'm going to leave you now with some shots of these Clansmen side by side. And after that, I'm planning on make a shot of the whole army all together, mixing up official models, mixing up with peri-miniatures conversions, mixing up with proxies. And I can make this Fiefdoms army and consider it finished right now, I think. But I am extremely happy about it. The only thing that I might try to do in the future, and I have thought about it, I remember watching a video of Sorp and some collaborators that they made reinforcements from the Fiefdoms series, that they will do conversions for units to send to the Pelennor fields of lords and fiefdoms that are mentioned in the books, but we do not have miniatures for. So, such as Ringlobale, I think they did Harondor, they did, I don't know if they did Pelargir, but I would love to do Pelargir myself eventually. Inspired also with the Age of the Ring models from the video game in computer. And there was another one, I don't remember how they were called. But there was a bunch of different fiefdoms that I thought it was a very, very interesting project to do. So I might be able to put that together eventually, just increase the numbers and use them as normal Minas Tirith warriors. But I really like these thematic armies and to make them look different and personal. So I'm leaving you here with the shots of them. And I'm extremely happy about this Fiefdoms army. In the next videos, we're going to go through the Gondor project, which has some pretty interesting things, besides a bunch of original models. And later on, maybe I show you what I'm starting to do with Mordor once I'm finishing with them, because there was a purchase here that changed a bunch of stuff. I'll show you, but I'm gonna leave here with this Fiefdoms project. Next video that you will see about this probably will be the Gondor project, which is going to take a long time because I want to have pretty much everything. I want to be able to run every Gondor army list. I want to be able to have all the heroes, all the units for collection, because I love Gondor, I love the aesthetic, and also for gameplay purposes when if I eventually start playing, which I don't know how easy or difficult it's going to be in Sweden, but I'll check it out. Anyway, I leave you here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.